Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Sayoxy with Triangle Gaming. Today I'm going to be bringing you another League of Legends guide. This guide is going to be a mid lane guide for Azir, the Emperor of the Sands. Now, I personally really enjoy Azir. His style is a little different, so it's fun to play, but the problem with him that I found is he is easily countered by certain champions, and it's just really not fun when that happens. I know all champions can be countered, but most of the time, if they're countered, you can at least kind of maintain during the laning phase. But it's really hard with him. His range is decent because of his sand soldiers, but I mean, they're pretty stationary. I mean, I'll go into it a little bit later when I'm going over the abilities, but it's really not fun when you get certain champions that very easily outplay you without having to outplay you, if that makes sense. But when you get decent matchups, he is fun. Like I said, his style's new, different. But anyways, this will be a pretty basic guide. So we're going to take a quick look at his abilities, masteries, rune setups, and then an item build that I use for him. Also at the end, as with the other guides, I will go ahead and throw in some gameplay footage at the end, just so you can get a quick look at how he plays. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start off with his passive, Shurima's Legacy. Azir can summon the Disk of the Sun from the ruins of allied or enemy turrets. Additionally, Azir gains attack speed based on the amount of cooldown reduction he has. So really it's two passives in one. We'll go ahead and start off with the attack speed part. More attack speed with more cooldown reduction. So this is just another reason why you probably want to max out your cooldown reduction. And then the other part where he can summon a turret pretty much. It's really nice, very situational obviously. But also it allows for an extra defensive position as well as an offensive defensive position, if that makes sense. For instance, if their inner turret is destroyed, you can go ahead and put this up there and play defensively there too. Now you can't put this on inhibitor turrets or anything in the base. Another nice thing about this is if this tower kills minions or anything, you get the CS for that. So that's a nice little bonus as well. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and go to his W ability, Arise, with an exclamation mark. Azir summons a sand soldier to attack nearby targets for him, replacing his basic attack against targets within the soldier's range. Their attacks deal magic damage to enemies in a line. So like it says, you raise soldiers. In the beginning, you can raise two. There's a 6-second cooldown. They last 9 seconds, I believe, each. But there's also another cooldown for generating those soldiers that you can summon, if that makes sense. If the target's in the range of your sand soldiers will attack. If the target's closer to you, you will do the basic attack. So you still can basic attack, so don't worry about that. Now we'll go to his Q ability, Conquering Sands. Azir sends all sand soldiers towards a target location. Sand soldiers deal magic damage to all targets they pass through and apply a stacking slow for 1 second. So obviously the slow is very minimal. It does decent damage when they charge through an enemy, but then they can start basic attacking each. Each sand soldier doesn't do, for instance, if you have 2 sand soldiers out, they're not going to do twice as much as 1 sand soldier. I'm not sure the exact percentages, but your second soldier does less damage. It's not like 100% damage increase with 2, if that makes any sense. I mean, I kind of confused myself there, but you know what I mean. Also, I forgot to say this with W. Once you get to your 40% cooldown reduction, if you put them down quick enough, you can have 3 soldiers out at a time. So that's nice. Now this ability, as it is nice, and it's pretty much where your entire damage counter revolves around, it's also the reason why you can get countered pretty easily. You need to use this carefully depending on who you're going against. Mainly because if you dash your soldiers to the side, the enemy champion can just walk around them out a distance and you can't do anything about it. So they can really punish you if you misuse this ability, which kind of sucks. Which it also kind of sucks that all of your abilities kind of focus around your sand soldiers. It's a cool idea, but it's also a pain in the ass sometimes. Now let's go ahead and go to his E ability, Shifting Sands. Azir dashes to one of his sand soldiers, knocking up and damaging enemies. If he hits an enemy champion, he gains a shield. So once again, this has entirely to do with your positioning towards your sand soldiers. You're going to dash to them. That's why it sucks if they walk around, because you can't do anything else. Because, they're not going to get in the way of your sand soldiers. You got to wait for your cooldown to reposition your sand soldiers. But this ability is nice. If they get in the way, you dash towards them, knock them in the air. It's a really short knockup. But you also gain a shield in the process. It also allows you to dash through, the trees, debris, stuff like that. Also, it says if an enemy champion's in the way, you will dash through minions and stuff like that, so don't worry about that. I think there's kind of a bug with this ability at the moment, depending on how long it's been since this video's come out. Between when you're watching, they may have fixed it. Hopefully they will, because I've found that sometimes when I'm trying to use this ability, it just won't work. You know, and I made sure I haven't been silenced or anything like that. But there's times when I could have gotten out of ganks in certain situations, or maybe even gotten the kill instead of me dying if this ability would have worked. I mean, I made sure I haven't been out of range. I really don't know what to say about it, but I just found that sometimes it seems like this ability doesn't work correctly. Like, it doesn't even try to dash me towards my Sand Soldier. But anyways, hopefully they'll fix it. Let's move on. Then we have his ultimate, Emperor's Divide. Azir summons a wall of soldiers which charge forward, knocking back and damaging enemies. The damage is okay, it's nothing significant. The knockback definitely is nice and situational, but you need to be careful with it. You don't want to knock the enemy back and actually block, say for instance, your melee guys away from getting in there. And just be careful, pay attention. Obviously, you know, you're going to mess up every once in a while. I know I have as well. A good thing you can do, which I think you'll see in the gameplay footage later, is if you kind of run into combat and are able to flash past all the enemies, you can use this ability and knock all the enemies into your team. Say for instance if you're getting kited or something. Obviously this is situational. Don't just use it all the time. And make sure you have flash up. I've made that mistake too, where I'll run in there and I won't have flash up, and you know, so I can't flash by anybody and I die because, you know, I'm a dumbass. So be careful with it. Highly situational. Don't fuck things up. Now for your max order, you're going to go ahead and max out your Q ability first, E ability second, and then your W ability last, as well as also maxing out your ultimate whenever possible. I've seen people, and I myself have tried to max out W second, just to see how it works, but in my opinion, maxing out E second is just the way to go. It allows for a lot more mobility, but I mean, you can always try maxing out W and see if it works for you, but in my experience, E second is preferred. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at his masteries. Now there's two ways to do it. Offensively, you're not going to change much, but instead of putting the 9 points in utility, you can put 9 points in defense, which I will show you after this. So let's go ahead and start off with the offensive tree. Got 1 point in double-edged sword for a little bit more damage, 2 points in fury for plus 2.5% attack speed, 4 points in sorcery for plus 5% cooldown reduction, which is very important, which you'll see when we go to the item set. 3 points in mental force for plus 16 ability power at level 18. 1 point in arcane mastery for plus 6 ability power. 3 points in executioner to increase damage dealt to low health champions. 3 points in archmage for plus 5% ability power. 3 points in devastating strikes for plus 6% armor and magic penetration. And 1 point in havoc for plus 3% increased damage. The only changes that I would really make in this is maybe take the 2 points out of fury if you want to, and put them in exposed weakness to allow your spells to increase allied champions damage, or 1 point in spell weaving so your basic attacks increase your spell damage, because it is fairly easy to get basic attacks off with your sand soldiers, so this may be helpful, but I prefer just to go ahead and put the 2 points into fury. And then for the utility tree, I put 1 point in phase walker to reduce the recall time by 1 second, 2 points in fleet of foot for plus 1% movement speed, 2 points in meditation for plus 2 mana regain per 5 seconds. You can easily, if you don't want to, as a whole I don't think it's a big deal, take 1 point out of phase walker and put it into fleet of foot or meditation if you want. Then I got 3 points in summoner's insight to reduce the cooldown of summoner spells by 10%. Now let's go ahead and jump over here to having 9 points in defense. I use 2 points in block to reduce incoming damage from champions' basic attacks by 2. 2 points in recovery for plus 2 health every 5 seconds. 1 point in unyielding for a little bit of damage reduction. 3 points in veteran scars for plus 36 health. And 1 point in juggernaut for plus 3% maximum health. Really, it depends on who you're against on if you're going to take the defense or the utility. If you feel like you're going to be poked a lot and trading a lot, then you may want to go ahead and go with the defense. If not, if you feel like it's going to be a fairly passive lane, maybe go with utility. Probably be a little safer to go with defense, but really it's up to you. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the runes. For marks, I go ahead and go with the plus 0.87 magic penetration. For quintessences, I go with the plus 4.95 ability power. This is just me. It's kind of standard for mid lanes. But some other options that you can go, I've seen people use attack speed quintessences, or even magic penetration, because your sand soldiers do magic damage. So this helps with their basic attacks as well. It's a viable option, but I prefer just to go ahead and go with the plus 4.95 ability power. Seals, I go with the plus 1 armor. It's kind of the safe choice. I mean, another option you can go with is the health seals if you feel like doing that. But I don't know. I just feel more comfortable doing this. And then for the glyphs, I go ahead and go with 3 of the plus 1.34 magic resist, and then 5 of the plus 0.16 magic resist per level. That's just me personally. The 3 of the just flat magic resists give you early game sustainability. And then I go ahead and throw in the 5 scaling magic resist because, you know, they are better in the long run. So that's always helpful. Plus, I just like seeing those round numbers on the side. I don't like point things. Another option you can do, it's not done as much just because Azir doesn't really have a lot of long range. So he most likely will take some poke. But you can go with the ability power glyphs if you want to. I've seen some people do the cooldown reduction glyphs. I feel like it's a waste because the items that I choose in my item build anyways give me my 40% cooldown reduction. So if you go ahead and take the cooldown reduction glyphs, it will help you in the early game, which I say would probably be his weak point, because your opponent can really play around your abilities. If you use them incorrectly, he can really punish you for it. So it will help kind of rebound if you mess up. So, as always, it's up to you. Give it a shot if you feel like it. See if it helps. But this is what I do. So, moving on. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the item set. For your starting items, you're either going to go with Dorn's Ring, which gives you 60 health, 15 ability power, 3 mana regeneration per 5 seconds, and every time you kill a unit it will give you 4 mana. And then also with that, you're either going to take 2 health potions, or 1 health potion and 1 mana potion. I usually go with 2 health potions because mana really isn't a problem unless I'm really spamming my abilities. And then if you're looking for a little more sustain because you're a little bit worried, or it's just a thing to do with whoever your opponent is, I'm going to go ahead and go with Crystalline Flask, along with 2 health potions and a mana potion, or vice versa. And then you're going to go ahead and pick up your Warding Totem. Now for your first recall, this depends on what you want your first item to be. Depends on who you're going against. If you're going against an AD mid, you're probably going to want to rush Azonias. So for your first recall, you're going to go ahead and get Seeker's Arm Guard. And then if you have money for it, go ahead and pick up Boots of Speed. Not going against an AD mid, you're going to go ahead and probably pick up Rod of Ages as your first item. So on your first recall, you're going to go ahead and pick up Catalyst the Protector. Now let's go ahead and go over those items real quick. Catalyst the Protector gives you plus 200 health and 300 mana. Also, its passive upon leveling up restores 150 health and mana over 8 seconds. So that's nice, especially for the early game. Helps you with a little bit of sustain. For Seeker's Arm Guard, it gives you 30 armor and 20 ability power. And then its passive, killing a unit grants 0.5 bonus armor and ability power. So you can get 15 more armor and ability power if you get all the stacks up there. Now depending on what you chose there, your first item is either going to be Rod of Ages, which gives you 450 health, 450 mana, 60 ability power. And then its passive, which grants plus 20 health, mana, and then plus 2 ability power per stack, with a max of 200 health and mana and 20 ability power. And it grants 1 stack per minute with a max of 10 stacks. So that's why if you choose this, it's going to be your first item, so you can get those stacks up there as fast as possible. And then its other passive carries on. Upon leveling up, restores 150 health and 200 mana over 8 seconds. Then if you choose Zonia's Hourglass, just to verify, even if this isn't going to be your first item, later on you may still decide to get this item because it is fairly effective in certain situations. Only this item. If Rod of Ages isn't really going to be your first item, probably not going to worry about it for the rest of the game. So, anyways, Zonia's Hourglass gives you 120 ability power, 50 armor. And its active stasis, champion becomes invulnerable and untargetable for 2.5 seconds. Now I'm sure you'll know, but if you use this, you can't move in that time. So really this is just to help you from getting burned down in certain situations. And then for your core items, your next item will probably either be Shore's Tooth or the Ionian Boots of Acidity. Whichever one you choose, your third item is going to be the other, if that makes sense. Because they both give cooldown reduction, and you really want to get that cooldown reduction up as fast as possible. So we'll go ahead and start off with Nashor's Tooth. Gives you a plus 50% attack speed and plus 60 ability power. And its passive gives 20% cooldown reduction. And its other passive, basic attack steal 15 plus 15% of ability power, bonus magic damage on hit. So once you start getting your ability power up, it's going to start doing more and more just with your basic attacks. Then we're going to go ahead and jump over here from your Ionian Boots of Lucidity. It's passive, which gives you plus 15% cooldown reduction. Now, with this 15% and the Shortest Tooth 20%, and then along with the 5% that you're getting from your masteries, you will go ahead and hit your max cooldown reduction of 40%, which is important because your passive also increases your attack speed based on your cooldown reduction, so you're going to max out your passive. And then also, like most other boots, it increases your movement speed by plus 45. And then your other core item, Relay's Crystal Scepter, gives you 400 health and then plus 100 ability power. This passive, dealing spell damage, slows the target's movement speed by 35% for 1.5 seconds. 15% for multiple target and damage over time spells. So this ability, not only does it give you a good chunk of ability power and health, but also helps you control the fight a little bit. For instance, those assassins may slow them down a tiny bit. I mean, it's not huge, but it gives you a little bit of control over fights. It's up to you, depending on the situation, if you want Relay's Crystal Scepter or Leandra's Torment first. But go ahead and go over Leandra's Torment. Gives you plus 50 ability power and plus 300 health. And then his passive, which gives you plus 15 magic penetration. His other passive, dealing spell damage, applies a damage over time effect for 3 seconds. That deals bonus magic damage equal to 2% of the target's current health per second. This bonus damage is doubled against movement impaired units and capped at 100 damage per second versus monsters. Really nice damage over time ability. For situational items, almost 100% of the time I do go with Ionian Boots of Lucidity for the cooldown reduction. But another boot option in certain situations will be Sorcerer's Shoes for plus 15% magic penetration. If you're going to do this, however, you're still going to want to cap your cooldown reduction, so you probably will want to get Athene's Unholy Grail. This item gives you plus 60 ability power, plus 25 magic resist, plus 10% mana regeneration per 5 seconds, and plus 20% cooldown reduction. Passive restores 15% of maximum mana on kill or assist. Its other passive mana front increases mana regeneration by 1% for every 1% of mana missing. So the main reason you're getting this is for the cooldown reduction, but it also has a little bit of magic resist and it has really good magic regeneration. The reason I usually don't go this route is because as the game goes on, Azir doesn't really have a whole lot of problems with mana, but you know, to each their own. And then if the enemy team is building a lot of magic resist, you're going to want to go ahead and go with Void Staff. Gives you plus 70 ability power, but the main thing is because of its passive, magic damage ignores 35% of the target's magic resist. So it'll help you cut through that magic resist a little bit. Really, if I'm going all damage, it will usually be my situational item of choice. Gives you plus 120 ability power, but then its passive, which even further increases your ability power by 30%. So this will really just give you a huge damage boost. If you're against those assassin type champions or just champions that have really big burst damage, probably want to go ahead and go with Banshee's Veil. Gives you 450 health and plus 55 magic resist. But then his passive, which grants a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. This shield refreshes after no damage is taken from enemy champions for 40 seconds. And his other passive, which grants 45 health regain per 5 for up to 10 seconds after taking damage from an enemy champion or when the spell shield breaks. So this ability will really just help you not get bursted down so quickly. So, I mean, it's under the category situational, but this is a situational item. You're not always going to pick this up. So, yeah. So now I got some gameplay footage set up for y'all to watch. As I said before, this is just so y'all can get a quick look at how he plays. So hope you enjoy. Alright everyone, so that's going to go ahead and do it for this guide. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel for some more League of Legends guides. Also, feel free to leave some comments below about the video. And if not, thanks for watching, and have a good one.